Hi there. Looks like my phone got scratched up. Um, I'm having trouble starting this video. I um, I want to talk about some plans that I have and why I have those plans. Um, I don't know if you can see it on me, but I have a lot of concern about my physical appearance right now. I've gained a lot of weight recently. I probably gained about 30 pounds in a short amount of time. I would say just 2 or 3 months, maybe only 2 months, maybe only a month and a half. Um, I don't know exactly why that is, but I think it's in part due to the fact that I am really scared of my future. Um, and as always, I just feel like it's important to be honest about that. Um, anyway, yeah. When I was a kid, I remember sitting on my father's lap one time. I was with him, and he called me over, and I was watching a movie with him, and he wrapped his arm around me. I was quite young. I was probably seven or so, and I still remember very vividly the smell of his arm and the hair on his arm, which I now have, and the feeling of being loved and held is a good feeling, and that it meant a lot to me at that time. I don't know why exactly, but one of the things he loved to do most were movies. Um, I remember my uncle got a hold of a camcorder. He always had the best tech stuff. He knew everything about Apple at the time, before Apple was as big of a deal as it is now. It was, he was a Mac guy even then, and he had a camcorder, and he he let us use it, and we would make these great, really fun videos. Just all of us, everyone in my family, and also Samana, who was another family friend that was very close to us. She's actually my blood sister. My mother gave birth to her and gave her to another family. Anyway, she was very close to us, and also friends down the block would come, and we'd make all these little movies. We had these little TV shows. Um, we were newscasters. We were. Um, Let me just see if this is still recording. Yeah. Okay. So we were newscasters. I remember this one. We made advertisements. We went and did interviews. We did a little mystery. One advertisement we did was with sumo wrestlers. I forget what the advertisement was all about. I remember Sunny, my oldest sister, was the announcer for what was going on, or the narrator for what was going on somehow. And me and my friend Maddie would run from either side of a hallway and bump into each other, and then just fall to the wayside. And I forgot. We had like big pillows underneath our shirts, and it was just a lot of fun. And I remember the girls, especially, I think, had a lot of fun with the mystery caper that we did, where someone had to be discovered as the evil doer or the murderer or something. Actually, I don't think it was murder. It was something benign. But anyway, I remember those moments and having so much fun doing that kind of thing, and some of the best, fun in my life. And I remember feeling very strongly when I was a kid that I should be doing something that I love to do. And when I was 17 years old, I went to Korea to study the Korean language. And one day in the language class, we got to discussing careers. One, and the teacher went around the room asking, after we had studied the material, asking everyone what they wanted to do as a career. And I feel like it was kind of working in me for a while, and I had thought very deeply as we were studying the material. Gee, if she asks me, I wonder what I would say. What would I want to do? What would I want to be? And then you have to describe what you would want to be. There's like a list of, things you could do. And I was scrambling to look for the word that meant director because I felt that I wanted to be a director. And so when she came around to me, I said I want to be a director, and everybody was oohing and awing at that, and maybe I felt something good from that. But ever since that point, and there was a few other things that I did. I remember in high school I made these little videos, and there were times when I was on stage for a short bit here and there, and just loving the experience of acting, of participating in performing arts. Um, and I felt that it was the, certainly the most fun that I had had in my life. Some of the most fun things I had had. A close second would be sports. I love sports. I just love running and making a goal, you know. But I never thought of that as a career, I suppose. Something that I always hoped that I would do sports for fun, but not as a career. Anyway, that I feel was a pivotal moment for me. Maybe I'm making it more than it is. I don't know, but I've always had this dream of making movies. Ever since that time, I've thought about films that I would make. I remember just a few years ago, I actually sat down and I thought, okay, if I'm really serious about this, let me work out a plan of what I want to do, of the movies I want to make, what the stories are about. And I had had many ideas up until that point. This was probably 2 years ago, or maybe more than that, 3 years ago, when I was probably 28 years old. So I sat down, I wrote on a little piece of paper the movies I want to make, and there were 7 films there. No, 6. I added a seventh, but I still remember those movies. Some of them I don't want to make now that some things have changed in my life, but I'm still rather passionate that I want to see those movies made. And I feel that I can contribute to the collection of films that we have in a few ways. One way is that I feel that I can make movies that are, I used to call it family friendly. Um, Movies that have morals and purpose. Movies that inspire and really make you think. You might walk away and just be blown away and don't know how to handle some of the material that you just saw. I would love to make a movie like that. I don't want to make a movie that dazzles and shocks so much as, well, I do want to make that. I do want to make a movie that dazzles and shocks, but I I want to I want to make movies that are inspirational. I'm looking for big words, but they're not coming to me. So I want to make a movie that you walk out of that says that's something I've never considered. I want to make a movie that changes people's lives. Maybe that's a little bit too pie in the sky, but I feel like a lot of movies these days don't have very good morals. I feel like I could make a movie with good morals. I don't see a lot of discussion about God in movies. And that is, the issue of God, the God as the creator of all matter in life is a huge thing for me. Um, I wish that I could prove God to myself, but I believe very strongly in God, even though I don't feel that I can fully say that I know there is a God. Even though I can't say it is proved to me now there is a God. I believe that it's enough to say I believe very strongly, and I would want to make movies about people that also believe very strongly in God, that rely on God, that seek God. And that's something you don't see a lot unless it's in you know, a packaged Christian dogma form, I would say. Inevitably, a Christian movie will say something about receiving Jesus into your heart, or Jesus, I finally realized that Jesus saved me and saved me from all my sins and whatnot. And those are things I don't believe at this point. I don't believe Jesus came to die for our sins. I don't believe Jesus is God, which is what actually, by my research, a lot of Christians seem to believe. So I want to put that in my movies. Anyway, about me, I remember about 2 years ago, I was working a job that was very difficult for me, where I was doing very hard manual labor, and I was just not, it wasn't working. I wasn't doing very well. I couldn't put up with the strenuousness of the job. I was scared all the time of the hazards on the job, and I wasn't very fit for some of the operations of the job. I didn't know very much about the machinery and was afraid of the big machinery and some of the big implements that were being used. Anyway, I was trying to drum up, you know, how do I keep this job? I was trying to drum up some inspiration, I guess, or just I was trying to keep my job, and I wrote down how to think about my job, how to change my thinking about my job, and I was trying to motivate myself, trying to give myself a personal pep talk because I was going nowhere fast in that place of employment, that workplace. And I remember whittling down the things that I wanted to say, something that would be very meaningful, kind of a motto that would help me. And I kept on working on it, tried it from different angles, and I actually came to something, and I wrote something down that was totally different than what I thought would be good for me at that place. What I wrote down, and I can't tell you, I can't remember, and I don't have time to say everything of how I came to this, but what I ended up writing down was, do exactly what you want to do. And basically I think that indicates to you that what I was writing, what everything about that job and everything about my life up until that point, I feel, was to do things that I didn't want to do. And, that for that job, it certainly was that. I didn't want to do that job. I didn't want to be a part of many of those things. I didn't want to be there. And I think it's a very different style of a life, or it's a very different thing for one to say, I want to do what I want to do in life. There's a lot of things that we would think are, just the reality, just the way things work, just the way the world is. I'm going to check how much time I have.